The legend of the Chrysler LX platform always starts in the Mercedes parts bin. However, some consider the preceding LH platform that underpinned my poor Intrepid was the blueprint in progress before the Daimler merger. Regardless, the first generation Chrysler 300 benefited greatly from the merger, with the traction and electronic stability control systems, wiring harness, the A580 5-speed automatic transmission, steering column, rear suspension, seats, and electronics from the Mercedes E-Class, and control arms and front suspension from the S-Class. But that was for the first generation Chrysler 300, Dodge Charger, Dodge Challenger, and Dodge Magnum. And while I consider those to be pretty classic cars by today's standards, especially the Chrysler 300, this vehicle is a little bit more FCA than it is Mercedes. Now, I say that this is a love letter because the Chrysler 300 is a really cool car, or at least it was back in 2004. The fact that it hasn't changed a whole lot means that it's very difficult to sell this vehicle because there's nothing new. For example, last year in the US, the Charger was up 20.83% when it came to US sales, up to 96,936 units sold. Now, the Challenger was down a little bit, down 8.57%. They only sold 60,997 units. Still not bad overall. However, the Chrysler 300 was down 37.3% to 29,214 cars sold. This year's not looking great. Doesn't help that COVID-19 certainly stopped sales in the US for a number of months, but it's just not looking that great. The peak for the Chrysler 300 was that first real model year, 2005, with 144,048 units sold in the US. Great numbers. Unfortunately, it went downhill from there. The Charger, again the stablemate of this vehicle, best year was 2007 with 119,284. So you can see that there were actually more sales for the Chrysler 300. Same goes for the Challenger. Actually, the best year was only a couple years ago for 2018. They sold 66,716 units. So the Challenger has grown in popularity. The Charger, not so much. But the Chrysler 300 was incredibly popular for the brand back in 2005 and really has slipped since then. Now, last year in the US, it was right in the middle of US full-size sedan sales. It outsold the Toyota Avalon, Ford Taurus, Buick LaCrosse, Kia Cadenza, and the Kia K900. However, it was outsold by the Charger, that was in first place, the Impala from Chevrolet was in second, and the Nissan Maxima in third. Now, it's interesting because the Impala died last year. Why is this still here? Good question. Because nothing has really changed. The second generation came out for the 2011 model year and changed the look of it, gave it a little bit more modern look, and at the time it was very competitive. In 2015, they did a proper facelift on this vehicle, gave it a bolder grille, LED signature lighting, i.e. daytime running lights, more or less left it the same, and it hasn't changed a whole lot since. In 2016, they added the Safety Plus group, which added forward collision warning, adaptive cruise control with full stop, lane departure warning, lane keep assist, blind spot information, rear cross traffic alert, and they updated the Uconnect system to Uconnect 3. Nothing changed for 2017. 2018 comes along, we get Uconnect 4, which we really do like compared to the Uconnect 3. You also had Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with that, and the option for Harman Kardon audio or Beats audio, because in 2014 they had a 10-speaker Beats by Dre audio system. Now we have a 19-speaker Harman Kardon audio system in this 2020 Chrysler 300 Limited. And then they did pretty much nothing. 2019 they added the black noise wheel finish. Amazing. 2020 you pretty much got a new appearance package for the 300S. Since this isn't it, we can't even talk about it. So there hasn't been much change, which is why I'm here. I could tell you all about this car, but you probably already know about it. If you're really in the market for this car, I don't think you really care about what I have to say or anybody else. You're going to buy it. This is more a love letter of what Chrysler should do, because this has been a very important week or last couple days for the FCA brand. But we're just going to focus on what I would consider to be Chrysler Group, the Chrysler brand, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, because they all know what they want to do now. And that was clear to us last week when they announced the new 2021 Dodge Durango Hellcat and the two updates for the Charger and Challenger, and then quietly a couple days later killed finally the Grand Caravan and Journey. Dodge is a performance company. It's not a sports car company because the cars go really, really fast in a straight line. Jeep is their off-road, more rugged 4x4 company. All the vehicles in their lineup are either crossovers or SUVs, but they have 4x4 capabilities. Most of them are trail rated, and it gives you the look and image of having an off-roader. And even when it comes to the Ram brand, it makes sense. I know a lot of people were disappointed and even upset that it was no longer a Dodge Ram, but now that they have a full line of commercial vehicles with the Ram truck brands, as well as the vans through the ProMaster lineup, it really makes sense that that's its own brand. That's commercial and work-related vehicles. Jeep is for getting muddy and having fun, and Dodge is for going really, really fast in a straight line. So that leaves Chrysler, the brand, not the company. What do you do with this? I mean, the Pacifica, we love it. We love that car. We even have it in a couple weeks. It's a fantastic minivan, and especially now that companies like Kia are coming out with their European versions of their minivans like the Carnival here in North America, and even the new generation Toyota Sienna is looking to be more luxurious. It shows us that that's the direction the market is going. It's why the Caravan was killed off. But what do you do with a car like this? Now, it would be fun if Chrysler just continued selling this for another 10 years, just to see how long they can go before literally nobody buys them anymore. I think they could do it. And I mean, is it really costing them a whole lot at this point? At least they're built in Canada, so it helps our country out a little bit. But honestly, they could continue selling this and the sales will continue to decline, and they could do little changes and special editions and add new paint and whatever you want. They will sell them. But they really need to do something about it because it's an icon in a way. It is essentially the Chrysler brand, and it's just doing nothing. It's not great at anything. That's the first thing I realized when I drove home with this, is it's fine. It's not great. It's just a car. And that's too bad because they had a really cool brand back in 2005. People loved the 300. And now it really just is the continuation of something for years and years and years. So they need to do something with it. They can continue to use this excellent rear-wheel drive platform. That's one of the things that makes this vehicle stand out, is it is a proper rear-wheel drive sedan. And those are dying. Not that there were a lot of them to begin with outside of the luxury market, but it is a great platform. It needs to be modernized. Even if you keep the same boxy look to it, it just needs to be updated. LED headlights would be great, especially the interior. These are still using incandescent light bulbs for all the interior lighting. Come on, it's a $55,000 car. You haven't changed anything. You could have at least put LED lights in there. You could change the look of it while still keeping it true to the heritage of what is now the Chrysler 300, but making it more modern, making some of the features that we take for granted on much less expensive vehicles like power folding mirrors and 360-degree cameras. You can add more tech to it, especially, I mean, that's what I just don't understand about this specific car here, is they could have added that technology years ago and not really increased the cost or the price to this too much. But they haven't. They really have neglected and forgotten about this car. It's almost like when it's time to bring out the new models, they go, ah, crap, we forgot the Chrysler 300. Let's add frostbite pearl paint to it, and let's paint the wheels black. That's good. That's what they're doing. They need to do something more with it. But that's enough about this specific rant. Let's jump behind the wheel now, take it on a road test, and go over what I feel about this car. And maybe you and I can brainstorm together how we can save this car, but also how we might be able to reposition the Chrysler brand to bring more profit and to actually have more than just two vehicles, one of which has been sitting around for a long time. If you've been watching my show for any period of time, you should know that I'm more of a car guy. Now, there are a couple SUVs and crossovers that I would buy, but for the most part, a sedan, a wagon, anything like that, I would prefer over that. So you'd think naturally that I would absolutely love the Chrysler 300, but I drove one back in, I want to say about 2013, 2014, and the experience is the same. It's a bit of a problem, especially when it comes to a car that Chrysler considers to be a luxury vehicle. The rest of the planet doesn't think so. If anything, it would compete with Buick in the premium segment, but it's aging. There's a lot of interior updates that could be done. You know, yes, there's like a leather material over the center of the gauge cluster stack here, but the rest of the dashboard is hard material. I do believe if you go for the Chrysler 300S, and there is an interior group that you can get on it. You can get full leather essentially throughout. That would be nice. But you know, at 55, it's not bad. It's a little bit more than what we drove with the Dodge Charger last year. The difference between that car and this, that actually had a little bit more horsepower, had 300 horsepower. This is 292 because of the exhaust system on this. This one does not have that. And this one also has a panoramic sunroof, which was not on the Dodge Charger, though it was an option. So, I mean, you could have got it pretty similar in price. But here we are, like, it's an expensive vehicle. There's not a whole lot of reason to go for it over, you know, I'd say the Chevy Impala. That was a really good car. Ford Taurus was also a good car. So this is the last man standing, meaning if you really do want a big vehicle, this is the way to go. But it's not really huge. I mean, the backseat space is all right, but it's not astronomical. It's considered a full-size car, but you have to remember, if this was a luxury vehicle, it is an executive car, a mid-size luxury vehicle, because the sizes actually stagger on the way up. Unlike with crossovers and SUVs, they pretty much stay the same between a consumer and a luxury. But one of the things I noticed with this, it's really weird. When I hit a bump on this suspension, you feel it, but you don't feel it. You know you've hit something, you hear it, you feel it through the floorboard and the steering wheel, but somehow, because there's so much cushioning on the seat, it sort of absorbs it a little bit, so you don't actually feel it on your bottom. But this car just, it doesn't do anything great, and that's the problem with it. It's a nice car, it looks cool, right? I would get it in the Frostbite Pearl paint, as I mentioned, but aside from that, I mean, it's aging, doesn't do anything tremendously well. The interior here is all right, kind of similar to the Pacifica. In fact, these are pretty much the same color seats that we had on the Pacifica that we featured last. Might even actually be the exact same seats, which is fine. There should be some consistency between the only two vehicles that Chrysler produces, but the rest of it is just like, it's old. Right? We've talked about that before on the other vehicles that are aging in FCA's fleet. Yeah, Uconnect 4 is great. It's just, it's old now. We know Uconnect 5 is coming out. Will we see 2021 Chrysler 300 with the updated infotainment system? And that's it? God, probably. HVAC controls, they work, but they're just old. So that's the issue that I'm having with this. Buying a Chrysler 300 used is a really great deal, especially if you want to have all-wheel drive. You've got that in a sedan, and it costs considerably less. But this is a 2020. We're not doing a review on a 2015 here. So I have to try to justify spending $55,000 new on a car that really hasn't been updated in 6 years. And that's where I have my issue with it. Because I can't. Okay, it's nice having the leather steering wheel with the piece of wood on the top. That is a nice touch, but not $55,000 nice. And as I mentioned, the fact that you've got incandescent light bulbs in here, and you know, there's no rear sunshade. You can option a rear power sunshade, but not on the windows. And other small details like massage. There's no massaging seats on this. There's driver memory, but there's no passenger memory. Like, if they really want to take this brand up, they're going to need to do more. And I think they really need to reinvent what the inside of this vehicle will look like. It needs to be completely overhauled. And some are saying that with the Group PSA merger with FCA, maybe we're going to start getting some Peugeot vehicles over here. Maybe we will. That might be a good thing for the brand. They could rename some of the vehicles that they're selling in Europe as Peugeots over here as Chrysler vehicles, give them cool names, maybe even bring back some heritage names. But I still think it's important for this brand to have a full-size sedan, which is why they really need to do something with this. Now, the way I do see it going, since Dodge is going full throttle when it comes to the Charger, Challenger, and Durango now, because the Charger, Challenger use the same platform, if they get updated, it means there's an option for the Chrysler 300 to get updated. Maybe with a new engine, because this engine, I've said it before, it's a great engine, pretty reliable so far, but it's very underpowered for this vehicle. If you try to pass somebody, you need to get ahead of somebody because they are going slow, like this Ram ProMaster in front of me here. It actually takes a little while to get that engine up and going. And here, I'll give you an example. We're gonna go around this corner here. Now I need to gun it. There we go. I mean, we're not quite at 100. it's underpowered. So here's what I would do. And Chrysler, you can send me the check later in the mail, because this will save you guys with this car. Update the exterior, bring the tech that people actually want to see at the price point. Proper adaptive LED headlights. LED license plate lights would be pretty cool too. Change the look, but keep it as true to form as possible. Make it a little bit more modern, but you can still keep this box design just by updating it. Maybe bring some of that design element that you've put on the 2021 Pacifica. The interior, I would just get rid of completely and start from scratch. Again, look at what the Pacifica is doing. Try to create something that flows with that design language, but make it much more modern. Bring in some new controls here that don't feel like they're off of 2007. Bring in a new headliner setup here. Make this more modern. Add a 360-degree camera with actual quality to it, because the backup camera on this is pretty terrible. Offer more options in here, because your choices are pretty limited. You got black, you got brown, and I believe they have a gray for the leather interior here. Maybe give it a tiny bit more choice to have some more options to it. And then bump the power. We know that the 3.6-liter Pentastar V6 can go up a little bit. So maybe if you put it up, get a little bit more power out of it, and add some sort of mild hybrid. You guys got it with e-torque. That would help. And maybe strip some weight, because this car is heavy. Do that, you're on the right track. You can create a new generation Chrysler 300 that's actually worth buying. Because right now, I just don't feel it. I'm enjoying it, but not so much that I would buy it. It's nice, but you blend in. And as somebody mentioned in our comments on my Instagram, it's kind of old people who are buying this. I don't think anybody my age, 30, is going to be looking at a 2020 Chrysler 300 Limited. Especially now that the SRT's gone, which is fine. This car needs a new image, and it's not going to get it by just releasing the same thing over and over and hoping all of a sudden people start buying it.